What is up? Sean here with Think Media TV, helping you move further, faster in media. Today, I'm here with Kem Meyer, who is the communications director at Granger Community Church, as well as an author, speaker. She just does a whole lot of cool stuff in the church communications space. How's it going, Kem?
Great. It's going great.
So today, we're going to be talking about all that kind of church communications stuff, about some cultural changes, just get your feedback on the amount of noise and types of things going on and still connecting with people and communicating in a local church context. So let's jump into it.
All right, let's do it.
So what would you say for the local church? In some cases, they've got a position, they've got someone that's actually doing kind of like your role, like a communications director. And in some cases, they're just trying to navigate these waters of communicating not just the gospel, but also just information, just getting people connected, the challenge of using old language and new language. And there's a lot of things that are coming people's way right now, whether it's for the local church, the economy, whether it's noise and attention spans and family dynamics. What are some of kind of the best practices you're seeing in light of modern challenges for church communications in a local context?
I really think the biggest challenge is just lack of self-awareness. I think we panic. We panic and we react to everything that's happening around us, and we're overstimulated just as human beings living in today's culture. So we look around and we see all this multimedia, we see all these messages, and we're overstimulated, and we've got all this technology. And so we just panic and think that the way we're going to keep up with culture is to run faster, scream louder, more colors, more graphics, more video. And we think by throwing more at the problem that we're going to fix it when actually we're adding to the pile. And if we just took a couple beats just in our own, perspective and realize that all the stuff that's bombarding us in our life is not effective. I mean, it's overstimulating us. If we stop for a second and say, okay, with all that stuff that's bombarding me, what's actually getting through? And then take some cues from what's getting through, and we'll start to see patterns that it's really a different way. Effective communication, the things that are really getting through and making a difference and connecting with people is the stuff that's softer and lighter. And when I say softer, I don't mean a softer message. We can tackle tough truths, but I'm talking it's not so much all at once, all the time. We help people move through if we help people move through a progressive dinner instead of a potluck, we'll get a lot more response. And I also think another mistake that we make as human beings, this is in the church space and in the marketplace, is we just think about what we have to say. We know what you need to know. We know what will make your life better. So we're just going to broadcast it. We're just going to tell you, I've got all the information. Here it is. And we don't stop and think, all right, how will this affect the other person? This may be true, but the right thing at the wrong time is the wrong thing, or the right thing in the wrong way is the wrong thing.
Yeah.
So that's really, it all boils down to a matter of self-control. And do we care more about what we have to say than we do the person we're saying it to?
If you were going to do a comb over of some of the biggest issues you see, and sometimes realizing what we maybe could tweak to do better is realizing what we're actually missing, like some mistakes we're missing, whether it's on the website or whether it's, spamming so much. What are some of if you were to do a comb over, some of the things you witness the most that people could adjust?
Mm-hmm. That's great. Do you mean a comb over or do you mean a flyover?
Yeah, probably just a total makeover is what. Yeah.
Right. It's all the simple stuff. You nailed it. It's the simple stuff that we don't see. I don't know if you've heard about this book called Now I See, and it's all about attention blindness.
Wow.
And so there's stuff that will be right in front of our face that we don't even see because we're not looking for it. And so the best thing we can do is have somebody else or partner and have more of a collaborative mindset to get rid of some of this attention Blindness. And some of the examples in this book, they were talking about how they train airline pilots and they take them through these simulators, and they put them under the most challenging circumstances, with mechanics and atmosphere and all that stuff. And the pilots, concentrating and stressing and paying attention to the instruments and all the weather. And they successfully land the plane. And then the instructors show the pilots, okay, here's what you did. Well, they were so concerned with all this that they didn't see that they were landing the plane right on another plane.
Wow.
The plane was right in front of them and they didn't even see it. They've done that experiment and done studies and seen people crash right into things on the interstate too, because they're not looking for it. So the whole point about collaboration, a lot of times I can't ever see my blind spots. If I look at my own website, I can't critique it. I can't tell you what's wrong, what's missing, what's broke. I've got to do one of two things. I either got to come to somebody else like you with fresh eyes and say, what am I missing? Or I need to step away from it for a while, go in another environment, look at some things that are working, or go to a place where things aren't working, and then come back and look at my site through fresh eyes. So it's the stuff that you said, it's simple. So we have too many graphics, and so we make it hard for people to know what to do next. We have broken links. We have, and I'm bringing up websites, because that's just me. Or we hand out too many brochures. Again, people don't know what's important, because if everything's important, then nothing's important.
Right.
We prioritize and elevate the deliverable over accessibility. So we will obsess about design or color or including all the information, that we miss the most basic things, like what do they do next? Or after they take this, are we prepared for their next step? So something I kind of advocate, accessibility is quality. We were having a discussion yesterday. Well, we need to get more high def. We need to increase the excellence of this. And excellence is contextualized. And the first thing we need to do is make things accessible and easy to find. That is excellent.
Yeah.
And it's not that people need more information. They need help making sense of the information that's already available. It's not that they need all the information at once. It's that they need to know, what's the one place I go to get the answers when I need that information. And everybody needs it at a different time. I was talking to you about that, what do you call attention blindness?
Yes.
We all have selective attention, but we don't all select the same things to see.
Oh, wow.
So, I mean, that's why the most important thing we can do is not do it alone. Surround ourselves with people who have different perspectives than us. But, Sean, it's the basics.
And
I'll tell you one specific thing that is one of my biggest pet peeves.
Sure.
Let's say you have in churches, you have a bulletin, or you have a brochure, or you have a web page. Here's the event. There's a block party, and here's the date, and here's how much it costs, and here's where it's at. For more information, contact blah blah blah. Well, or you'll have a bulletin and it'll have all this stuff for more information. It's got 6 or 7 different contact people,
Totally.
And I'm kind of like, why do you need to put for more information? Just give them everything they need, have one contact. And first of all, if you answer all the questions up front with the basics, they're not going to need more information. Don't invite it. Don't add that extra step for people.
Right.
We do that a lot. We add extra steps unnecessarily. So I can tell you one thing that should be encouraging for people. It's not that they have a lack of talent. It's not that they have a lack of money. It's that they overcomplicate things, me included.
Yeah, that's phenomenal. And I've seen that. That's actually a personal pet peeve too, maybe in video announcements, where actually on the video it'll say, and to get connected, call, and it gives you a number, and the number shows up on screen for 4 seconds, and you expect the individual to take their cell phone out, dial that, and I mean, even cold call somebody. It's just,
right.
You're so late. So that's a phenomenal point.
And we make these mistakes still. I mean, just last week we produced something and handed it out to 5,000 people on the weekend. The text was so small nobody could read it, and we spent 3 weeks producing it. So
Right.
We make those mistakes. And
I love it. It sounds like a lot of what you're saying. And if you would, just for viewers and those that may not know about the book you wrote, one of the best church communication books out there, it sounds like a lot of the concepts from that, which is called Less Noise, Less Clutter, and that kind of concept. Like, let's simplify things. But before we worry about flashy designs and graphics and those later things that come in Excellent, let's just get simple, clear, less clutter. You're kind of expounding on that. Maybe just briefly expound on the basic concept of that again.
Sure. I'll tell you, there's no shortage of communication books, and there's no shortage of books in the Christian or ministry space. I think what makes this book different is it's not too heavy on concept without practicum. And it's also not a book full of answers. It's a book full of stories. And so I have my attention's all over the place. I have ADD. Yeah. And so this book really is written by someone with ADD for an ADD reader. It's real easy to read. It's all these little bursts. Dare I say devotional? No, it's not a devotional, but it's like, so I'd say it's broken into 3 parts, because really there's 3 parts of this. One is our own like individual self-awareness. We're never going to get better with communication effectiveness corporately unless we do a little inventory personally. And all communication overhauls and improvements that we make, it really starts from the inside out, just kind of with a fine-tuning and a rebooting. So one section is kind of just like breaking down some myths that we hold on to, that we're in ruts that we don't even realize that we're in. And it's shared from like little stories, things I've seen, mistakes I've made, questions to ask yourself, and here's how it applies to the church space. The other section is, what do you replace those old myths that you've held on to, and what do you replace those with? New beliefs that you want to hold on to, mantras that apply to anything and anyone. And what are some examples of good ways to roll that out, bad ways to roll that out, things to consider, samples, And then the last section, it's great, fine. I've rebooted my perception. I've got some skills. I've got some ideas. I've got it all figured out. But I'm not going to go anywhere with this new toolbox if I don't know how to effectively advocate it to others. So the whole last section is just getting buy-in from others. It's a new strategy. It's a new perception. Here's how you get buy-in and roll out new strategies and make change one step at a time. Because when I talked about the inside out, not only is it me, I need to do an inventory of myself inside before I start leading change. But the same thing needs to happen on our staff, paid and unpaid volunteers. Before we communicate to the congregation, we got to kind of get on the same page as a staff.
Yes.
And so that's another inside out thing. And we jump so quickly to the external things, and we ignore the internal things, and our ideas never they never take flight.
Phenomenal. Just 2 more questions. One, and maybe you have some thoughts on this. We're actually in January right now, in a new year, and technology is always advancing, and there are certain, sometimes major cultural shifts and small cultural shifts. What maybe current things for you that do you have any current things that are buzzy for you that you see as trends that church communication leaders would really need to be aware of? Cautions, strategies that would be really relevant and current to this year, a fresh new year, a fresh, getting fresh eyes on their team. Any thoughts along that?
Mm-hmm. The ironic thing about this is, the longer I'm in this, the more I realize that the foundational truths don't change.
Yeah.
And if we stay simple there, it helps us process every new tool, every new method, every new technique, everything that comes out. We can run it through the same filter. It would apply when the cassette tape came out, to the time that YouTube was invented,
Sure.
and to whatever's coming next. These principles apply. And so, honestly, the stronger we are elevating issues over deliverables, talking about the benefit of technology over the technology itself. How are we going to be better because of this technology? Or what am I going to feel because of it? Or what's at risk if we don't use it? That's what we got to communicate. It's not about the technology. All those are just channels and tools. It's really funny, because when we drive on a road to go, I want to go to Chicago. I say I want to go to Chicago. And when I'm talking to my friends about it, I sit there and say, I want to go to Chicago. Why? Because it's fun. They've got great restaurants and, the tree lighting ceremony, whatever.
Sure.
I don't sit there and say, oh my gosh, 8090 Toll Road. Have you seen 8090 Toll Road? You've got to get on the 8090 Toll Road. And I don't sit there and keep talking about the road.
Right.
I talk about the destination and what happens because of it. And we have to keep advocating that no matter how, no matter what comes at us, because that's transferable, that's scalable.
Yes.
It applies to small churches, large churches, technology, analog, old, young. And so the more we advocate that, the more we're helping people. So sure, I see trends. Shorter, faster, mobile, personal.
Yeah.
I think some people, especially churches, because we're always a few beats behind, because we're afraid to learn from the culture, so we go and learn from other churches.
Sure.
But it should be a blend of the both.
Right.
We just react so fast. Where was I going with that? The mistake I see with churches.
Trend.
Oh, see, now I've lost.
Trend.
Churches. Thanks for the reminder. So we'll say, we can't do that because there's privacy issues. There's privacy issues. Well, really, it's control issues. Our users want to have control of their privacy. They're not really worried about privacy. They're worried about having control, because what I deem private is different than what you deem private, and there's 100 flavors of that.
Right.
And so it's giving users more personalization, more pathways to the same story. We don't have to tell the whole story. We just need to tell the same story. So I just stick with the basics, and
Right.
everything else is so much easier to handle.
That is that's truly wisdom. Great response. Last question, and you brought up that early on, one of the best things we can do with our lobby, our website, our brochure programs is to either remove ourselves so we can come at them with fresh eyes, or to get fresh eyes. And you have a coaching program that you do where it sounds like a little bit of that, and probably a bunch of other stuff you bring to the table. You bring your perspective. There's Q&A. I'm sure there's tons. Tell us about your coaching program. What could someone expect in that? How can they get involved? What is that all about?
Yeah, thanks for asking. The truth is, this isn't an original idea for me by any means. This is a change in our society and our culture too, that the access to large group, big events, big conferences, online tools, blogs, webinars, the most awesome things is those things are becoming more and more accessible and more options to choose from than ever before. We do not have an excuse not to be educated.
Yes.
But what's missing is kind of that one-on-one relational kind of sounding board, perspective, facilitating, what-if scenarios, just kind of somebody that helps personalize your exact situation, personally, corporately. How do you execute this? How do I get a better focus? What am I missing on an individual level so you can have more impact? So there's just a need for that. And I started hosting or offering little coaching networks limited to 12 people, and we shut it off at 12. And that group of 12 stayed together from all over the country, stay together for 6 months. We meet 6 times and kind of walk through a journey of some principles, from structure to staffing to leading change to strategy. And that peer network is so transformational. And so this will be my 5th network, and I'll stop doing them when there stops being a demand, you know. But this next one, the deadline actually for applications is February 1st, and we'll have our first meeting on March 1st. So there's 4 spots left. We cap it off at 12, and there's 4 spots left. So it's really a unique personal experience, and it's different than you would get. And I think everybody at different points in their journey need different things. Sometimes you need that conference. Sometimes you just need a webinar with a boost of some new ideas. But sometimes you just really need a little personal trainer for a short season, and that's kind of where it's at. So I'm not a teacher. That's not what I'm doing. But I really am facilitating, coaching, almost.
Yeah. Yeah, it sounds phenomenal. And for those watching, all information about that, as well as anything else we've talked about, links are either in the description of the video or in the description of the blog post, a link to Kem's book. Kem, thanks so much for taking your time today to chat with Think International, Think Media TV.
Thanks for inviting me. It was fun.
Absolutely. Think International, helping you move further, faster in media.